Yeah, there's a title change, no? Crazy. Okay. So yeah, there's a story to that. So hi, thank you for showing up. This is very gratifying to see all of you. I was thinking a lot about how I wanted to structure this talk, and initially this was supposed to be about, well, how do you do a side project? What does a case study of a side project look like? What does the process look like, right? But I don't have the time. So this is a compressed 10-minute version of just a 1.25x version, right? So buckle up. This is going to be like a little speedy, right? So if you really want to go to the main auditorium and listen to Prasanto speak, this is the short answer. Side projects, you should do them, right? That's it. Okay, this is all you need to know. But this is also advice that I find myself giving very often to students, to early career people, because no one wants to not learn more or have less to show for, right? Everybody wants to do that. But the thing is, this is fairly obvious, but it's also very stupid advice because, I mean, I kind of forget whenever I say this how hard it was for me to start doing these things properly. So today I want to talk about what I used to do wrong and how I refined my approaches to approaching a side project. And I think in a place like this, you know, with so many fantastic people, we all look very perfectly curated, but I think the reality is like a lot more rougher than that. So just like a quick like introduction, I am, like as Sumanta said, I'm a data visualization developer at Revisual Labs. That's my 9 to 5. My 5 to 9s is 5 to 12s is just making stuff that I care about. So I'll just show you some of the things that I worked on over the past 1 year. This was a project on elections. We analyzed all candidates across all elections to find out which candidates had similar sounding names and if at all they actually turned election like margins, right? So this was a project that we did. It was called Votes in a Name. You might have seen this map. This is a map of drainage and water accumulation in Bangalore. This kind of gets popular every time it floods, which is very often, right? So, and the last project I've been working on for the past 6 months is something called CBFC Watch. We have assembled the largest archive of censorship records by the government in India. And this was actually in the news like yesterday in the Hindu because they shut us down. So anyway, I mean, this all looks pretty big, but none of this would have happened if I hadn't, you know, kind of start failing in very predictable ways. So I want to like dial it down a bit and start talking about those mistakes. My first mistake was, I think this is something for all of us, right? Thinking my idea is not big enough, right? Whenever we start something, I think one thing that we ask, if you're working something outside of work, is this important enough? Does anyone care? Or, you know, why does it matter? I think those are the wrong questions. A better question to ask would be, will you learn something new? Will I learn something new or get better at something that I want to know, right? And do I care about it enough to stick with it? A side project is a time commitment, right? If you don't care about it, it's not going to go anywhere. So just as an example, this is, so me and my girlfriend, we do the NYT word games a lot. We do them every day. So early in 2024, I asked her, and we kind of make fun of each other, like who's the loser? I'm usually the loser, right? So I asked her, do you want to start tracking this more formally? And this would be an interesting data project, right? So this has been running for the past 1.5 years now. We do the word games every day. I wanted to learn how to build a dashboard in Shiny and R. It's a tool, right? So a few hours later, I kind of assembled this very simple rudimentary dashboard. It's just a form which is connected to Google Sheets. It has these results. It calculates like a heat map. It has these play streaks. This is not going to change the world, but it's something that I cared about, and it was a way for me to find an excuse to just push R into this, right? So be selfish, right? I don't think it needs to be big, small, nobody really cares. If it does something for you and maybe like 2-3 other people, you're golden, right? That's pretty much all you need. The second mistake would be relying on motivation. And I know this sounds counterintuitive, right? But if you think about it, here's how you start a project. You get an idea, you're really excited about it for maybe 5 days, maybe a week, 2 weeks if you're lucky. And then it reaches peak excitement, and then this region where it trails off is where most projects die, right? So you can't really rely on you being interested. So first of all, you should choose something that you care about, but then how do you keep up your, resolve and your motivation? So I think so I talked about CBFC Watch. So these are some of my messages to my friends, right? In the duration of CBFC Watch. I hate CBFC Watch. I'm sick of it. I'm so demotivated, right? This is the reality, right? 6 months. After a point, I just want to be done with it, right? And I'm glad the government shut us down because it's less to maintain, man. So my solution to that is take motivation out of the equation. It doesn't really matter, right? If it's a job, treat it like a job that you chose and you love. Just show up to work as often as you can, once a day, few hours, half an hour, maybe once weekends if you get free time. Just make some time for it. Just show up, right? It doesn't matter how long you can do it for. For me, when I was starting off and I was applying for internships to Reuters and so on, Tidy Tuesday and chart challenges did a lot for me. This is a very ugly chart, right? But this was about 60% of my portfolio, like when I was starting off, charts like these, right? It was just about, and I think challenges like these are great because you don't really require an idea, the prompts, you have a community, so you have motivation to just share something once a week. So I think these were so useful when I was first starting off. I really recommend them to you. So this is tech focus, but it's something called the shiny object syndrome. So I think this is something that we talk about a lot, like what tools do we use, what do we learn, what do we do this, right? And it can kind of get overwhelming. Let me just show you what that looks like, right? There are so many things for you to learn. What do you pick out of this pile? I think all of this really does not matter as long as, let me just pick 5 tools, stick with them. You don't have to care about that pile, right? I don't know half the things in that pile, right? I know about 5 things, and that constitutes about 50% of the work that I do. There's a lot of stuff outside this blob that I don't know, but I know that over time that's going to compound. So maybe for a project, if I'm looking at like a different kind of mapping analysis, right? I know I have a small foundation in QGIS. Maybe I can just expand a little bit over there and structure a project around something that I don't know. But I think jumping between tools kills momentum, and it does you no good. I'm a developer and I don't know React, right? It's something that I'm supposed to know. I don't know, and I really don't want to know it either, right? So I've been obsessed with tracking stuff on my website for a while. This is from 2021, where I made up this small D3 visualization where I set up this elaborate system with GitHub issues. I'll track what I'm doing, and this is where it died. But it was a very rudimentary thing. But 4 years later, same tools, same things. This is what my word game tracker looks like on my website right now. It's designed after like an election kind of like, you see the trends going this way and that way. So this is live, this updates every week, and it's fun, right? Stick with your same tools. It doesn't really matter what you do. Mistake number 4, working in isolation. And this is a big one because I used to have this idea, and I think it's very important to know like, okay, every bit of the process. Like if you're doing a side project, you're your own product manager, you set your own deadlines, you're your own designer, developer, analyst, everything, right? I think that's important. I think everybody should get an experience of what that feels like, right? But so for example, this is a project that I worked on in college. This was about healthcare and NGO funding. It was a story about that, and I tried to write a story, and I realized it was very number heavy. And this was the first time and the last time in my life where I used AI art, okay? So if at a distance you might think, oh, that looks nice. Up close, it looks like garbage, okay? And it adds nothing to the story. But it was my thing, okay, maybe this is what I can do to ease up on the numbers and so on. But I couldn't really get there, right? But for Votes in a Name, I took the help of an illustrator friend of mine, and including Ria, right? So they came up with these metaphors for these numbers, which, because I was so into the numbers, I couldn't see how this would be like, perceived by someone else. So I think trying to find someone to work with who's not like you is immensely helpful. I know that's hard, but a lot of people are on the same journey. So if you can kind of like pitch it to them like you would to a publication, hey, let's work on this together, there's a mutual benefit there, right? So I really enjoy working with people now. I hate working alone. So I think getting out of your shell, just finding someone who's not brained like you is very helpful. Mistake number 5, yes, I'm almost done. Waiting for perfection, right? I think we all lose track of what is version 1, what is version done. We always wait for version done. That's not going to happen, right? For this project, so what I usually do is we have projects which are just like, okay, 2 weeks, and we are going to be done with it. And my friend keeps me, my friend Vivek, who I collaborate with often, keeps me very accountable because I get these deadlines. This is a very serious message about a side project, right? 6 p.m. done, do not push it forward, right? And I love that because it kind of sets the scope for me. I have someone else who's keeping me accountable. It doesn't really matter what I'm able to do as long as there's a small deadline I've set for myself. I know that after that I can move on to the next thing. But let's at least push this into the world. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is the chart that I was doing this analysis of how lyrics can be repetitive in like some of Taylor Swift's albums. I like Taylor Swift, so there's no shade. But yeah, so this was an initial chart that I made. It's pretty ugly because the analysis took time, but I know that okay, by 6 p.m. I'm going to do this. But it doesn't really have to stop there, right? Because after 5 days, you can refine it into something that you're actually proud of. But it's doing something just every day, setting your small deadlines for yourself. And yeah, don't wait for perfection. So if you want to, like, I don't know, this is like a summary of what I think my mistakes are. You don't have to wait for the perfect idea. You don't have to wait for perfection. Work with someone else. Focus on like 5-6 things that you really want to dig deep into, and then go horizontal. Learn more things along those lines. And do what you can. It really does not have to be earth-shaking, world-changing, right? If it's a small Blender visualization, it's a small chart, it's a newsletter, it's a blog, it doesn't really matter. You should be able to point at something and say that I made that, and this is mine, right? So take accountability for it. I know I'm over time, so this was a lightning talk, but if you have any questions, yeah, I'm around all day, so yeah.
Thank you, Aman. I think all of us in this community want to build something of our own always, in some way or the other. And it's often hard, but I think, Aman, I'm pretty sure I'm taking inspiration from you. I have like a couple of personal projects I want to do, and I'm going to take inspiration from him and work on this. And a couple of things that he said really struck me, that you don't have to learn everything, and you always have a community with you who are going to help you everywhere you go. So that's the beauty of it. So we are open for any questions if any of you would like to ask anything. Sure.
Hi, Aman. This was very motivating, and you have covered a lot of tips. But I had one question, which pertains to feedback in personal projects, which is something that I struggle with a lot. I have worked with people, but these people also most of the time tend to have the same level of expertise as me because they are friends, colleagues in the same age group and all. But how can one take it beyond one circle and get feedback on it, build it when it has potential? Of course, not everything needs feedback, not everything needs to be super shiny, but what is like the pathway for that?
So I think there are like two things. One is a fear of actually getting feedback, and one is not being able to get feedback. I used to have a fear of getting feedback, right? And that's also important. For me, it was just I think places like social media, like, okay, like Blue Sky or Twitter or whatever, right? It's treated like a black box. You don't really care about what kind of reaction it gets. So I think just putting something out there is great because someone will find it and say something, okay, make corrections. I get corrections on my charts sometimes being like, okay, this is stupid. Right, and it's fine, it's fair. I think the fact that you put it out there kind of enables that. The second thing I found really useful is cold emailing people and just reaching out to them. It takes a little bit of like sometimes just like courage doing that, but I found incredible kindness in people to actually, because the thing is, from their point of view, you're reaching out to them for their expertise, right? And I think people are always happy to talk, and I think we currently have like especially the WhatsApp group, you just want to like, dip your feet into it. We actually have a channel, like feedback. So I think just getting over that thing of what is the other person thinking of me, it's okay. It's an email, right? The worst thing they'll do is not respond. So I really suggest like messaging people that you care about. If I have people that I sometimes just email ki, hey, I'm working on this. Do you have any feedback? Right? Sometimes I don't get a response. Sometimes I get a response. But you're going to gain nonetheless. So I think just cold emailing, cold reaching out to people, even if you're scared, I think that really works for me.